Good, so the mics are live.
On there.
Excellent.
You're live.
Great. Well, welcome everybody to this January 21st DPW Facilities Feasibility Study Committee, Wednesday. I'm not sure of my next steps. Yes, it's January 21st, 2015. And present today, just so everybody outside knows, we got Mike Smith, right? We've got Henry, who's our clerk. We've got Peter, who's the Vice Chair. And I'm Dan Corsi, the Chair, and Dave is on vacation, but we expect him next week. So call to order. Our first area of business is to meet with the folks from Weston and Sampson, and to have them present what they've done through their study. That would be great. So without further ado, love to have you.
Chairman, he's going to project here, so
Sure.
You may have to relocate, but I'll kill you.
Yeah.
Is that going to be good enough, Mike?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
What
good.
I'm going to do, I'm
for
going
me,
to
yeah.
actually move this stuff out of here. And move down one. Okay. I'm all set.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Sure.
My name is Michael Hicks. I'm the Director of Facilities at Weston and Sampson, and I'm here to present the results of the feasibility study, which we submitted to the Department of Public Works and Natural Resources back in September. Have received some comments from them, a couple rounds of comments, and so the final draft, I believe you folks have a copy of. So I was asked to just go through it quickly and to give you the sort of highlights of what's in the report. So what I wanted to touch on was, first of all, I suspect that most folks don't understand what we do. I'm talking about my group, which is a small piece of within Weston and Sampson, and what was the town's charge to us, and then go through our observations about the current conditions of the DPW and our facilities. I think it's important to talk a little bit about what is the Public Works and Natural Resources Department, because this structure in this town is different than we run into typically. Give you a sense of the size of the staff and equipment list, and then go through our recommendations as far as the facility program and our concept level planning, phasing, and our budgets. So Weston and Sampson, the company itself is over 115 years old. Most of the staff are here in Massachusetts. The company does 87% of our work is for municipalities. The Facility Services Group, which is my group, we have about, I think, 16 folks. We do largely public works facilities. That's the bulk of our work, probably 85%, 75% of our work is public works facilities. This is just giving you a sense of, I mean, the bold, where the names are in bold, that's their primary responsibility. So I'm at my, it's me up here, and Jeff Alberti, who's the team leader. So we have both fleet and operations folks. Roger Thompson has been doing fleet management and DPW programming for, well, he was a DPW fleet manager himself back 40 years ago, so he's been doing this his entire career. The building and site planning folks are largely architects, licensed architects, either licensed or educated and studying for the exam. We have a group of folks, Jamie Fair being the team leader, who specialize in maintenance equipment design. So they do lifts, they do fluid distribution systems, they do fueling systems, those types of wash equipment. So they're specialists in that. And then we have some folks who are also specialists in construction administration. So that is the group that is doing this study for you folks. And I just want to give you a sense of the magnitude of our portfolio. I've got 3 or 4 pages here. These are studies that have been completed, and the ones that are in red are basically Cape or near Cape, Plymouth. We finished something for them about a year and a half ago, and they are going to be going to town meeting, I think, in the spring for the first phase of the project. There's some more studies that have been completed. You see one, we did one in Yarmouth, which I was involved with going back quite a few years ago. Design underway. We have one large project right now in Waterbury, Connecticut, which is under design. We have 5 projects which are under construction at this point. The one that's probably of most interest to you is the one in Bourne, which is in right near the Bourndale Elementary School. Those are all new facilities. Well, yeah, it's not true. Norwood is actually on its existing site, but we're doing new buildings. Medford is on the existing site. We again tore everything down because it was decrepit, and so they're all basically new construction. And this is construction completed. So of interest to you is Chatham, Falmouth, Dennis, and Barnstable, which is a slightly different type of building, but it's a public works type admin building. So the point I'm trying to get at is that there's a substantial body of knowledge within our group about how DPWs work and how they, yes.
What does that mean through previous employers?
That means that I've been with Weston & Sampson for almost 5 years. My former firm, DHK Architects, I was a principal there. We did work for Gannett Fleming as sub-consultants. Jeff Alberti used to work for Gannett Fleming before he joined Weston & Sampson 7 years ago. So a lot of this work was done in our previous lives. Okay. And many of the guys who work for me used to work for me at DHK, and they'd work with me on DPWs. Yes, sir.
Just, since you interrupted him for a second, just to save note-taking, et cetera, if you guys want a PDF file, I can email it to you of this presentation. You guys want that?
Yes.
Okay.
That'd be great.
Yes, I gave Tom an electronic copy of this presentation.
Great.
And just to point out that this is that reflects all the municipal clients for whom we have done work regularly. When it's red, it means multiple disciplines, so you can see that our firm as a whole is fairly active on the Cape. The charge from the Board of Selectmen to us was, I suspect you know this already, but familiarize ourselves with existing conditions, develop a program, which we refer to as the needs assessment, look at the available sites and identify the most logical site to develop a consolidated DPW facility, develop preliminary cost estimates, and develop some conceptual floor plans and meet with the various boards. The boards we met with, essentially we met with the Board of Selectmen on a couple of occasions. So that was the charge to us. This, again, you know this already. These are the existing facilities, Bay Ridge, Overland Way. I'll go through this with some photographs. South Orleans, by that is the address, Tom. It's 90 South Orleans Road. That's the address for the police station. The Water Department on South Orleans Road, Water Administration and facilities here in this building. And Tom's offices are across the street, and then the transfer station, and then 40 G'day Hill Road, which is where we spent most of our focus. That right now is sort of loosely organized with a series of miscellaneous buildings for storage. This map is just to show you how they are scattered all around town. There are a couple of beaches that are occupied primarily or manned primarily in the summertime, but your full season facilities are literally scattered all around town, and it makes Tom's life a lot more difficult if he is to try to develop a strategic plan for managing the department in a way that's efficient and cost-effective. That's the primary goal of our design, is to help Tom be a lot more efficient in the way he manages his staff and his resources. And it's very difficult now when you're scattered all around town. So this is Bay Ridge, 18 and 22. Bay 18 is the small building where the parks and the beaches are. 22 is the larger building that has the highway department in it, the maintenance department, and there's a large metal building in between the two, which is shared by the two divisions, primarily for storage. These buildings are totally inadequate. They're, in many cases, really falling apart, in need of a lot of repair, but it doesn't make sense to sink money into these because they don't meet their needs at this point. One point that I should make out is that these types of buildings, this was put up in the 1960, I believe, is when it was constructed. They were designed for a different type of vehicle than is used today. The DPW vehicles back in the 50s and the 60s were much smaller. They were generally single use. We now are dealing with much larger vehicles. So the snow fighters have a hard time getting into those buildings, and some of his vehicles barely fit with having the door coming down. So it's basically, we run into this all the time. Buildings done in the 50s and the 60s are simply too small for the current vehicles. Overland Way, currently informally used for some storage. It is in close proximity to a number of residences. So we did look at, had a proposal for reusing this as cold storage, but it was concluded that it's too close to residences, so that would be problematic. The Harbor Master's facility shares the site with the police station. It's quite cramped. They do the best they can. They have one boat which they need to keep indoors, have the ability to get to the water in the wintertime if there's a rescue to be made. And there's a fair amount of storage, and there's also a shop which is they use to maintain a lot of their equipment. It's quite tight. It's really, the fact that they're sharing space with the police station makes it quite problematic. The water department garage off of South Orleans Road is a single big space in this facility, right there. We have workshops in there. It's the employee lunchroom. It's where they do their work. It really, they do a decent job of trying to organize it, but it really doesn't work well for them, and it also is just not big enough for. They mow their own facilities. They cut the grass, and storage for cast iron pipe and larger pieces of equipment it has to be outdoors. There's just no room for it. The water plant, it's really not part of our project, but it just pointed it out. And then here in Town Hall, the water department is fairly well situated. They seem to have a pretty good setup there. From a management standpoint, it's unfortunate that the management is not where the workers are, because management can't keep their eye on what's going on, and it's more difficult to organize the day's activities. Poor Ron is stuck in the assessor's office, so he really doesn't have a space to himself. It's difficult he's got storage all around town, so that really doesn't work for him. And across the street, there's DPW offices, there's storage for recreation department, there's storage for the sticker sales, and then there's a sticker sale room itself, which can be pretty hectic in the summertime, of course. There are a lot of issues with the building. It really was not, it's been repurposed for this use. It's not really well designed for these functions. And then you have the transfer station, which is part of this organization. 40 Gedaya Hill is actually over here. So just to reorient you, you come in here, and then there's where you turn around and put your stuff in there. And these are the buildings that they have at Gedaya Hill, which are used by the highway department. Some are literally sheds that are up on blocks, and some of them are permanent buildings. But in all cases, you can see there's been a lot of Rube Goldberg type of accommodations in order to make things work for the staff.
Mike, can I explain that?
Pardon?
If you look at the picture in the bottom right, okay, that's, one garage, and there's no utilities in that, okay? So across the opposite side of the parking lot of that big garage is a small, very small, one-story garage that has power. Picture on the upper right is the garage across the way. So the staff, before they did some paving of that parking lot, however many years ago, ran PVC under the pavement from one building to the other and ran an extension cord through it so that they could get power from one location to another. Now, how much can you run off an extension cord? And maybe a small hand drill and a radio. That's about it. So this is the type of, as Mike says, Rube Goldberg stuff that has gone on, and there's a lot of this around, and it's really to the, I hate to say it, the kudos to the staff just trying to survive and get the job done.
So this is, I'm
Is
sorry.
that due to budget? That they did things like that? Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't, there's been no attention to the facilities, there's no budget for the facility, really, you know what I mean,
Okay.
to do something. I'll tell you right now, while you asked that question, the parks down at Bay Ridge Lane, Mike was saying, is a blue metal building that's shared half by highway and half by parks. So the back part by parks is heated. We heat it because they do a lot of indoor work. They maintain the lifeguard stands in the winter. They do a lot of work there in the winter. Right now, that heat is broken. We're trying to get parts to wrap it up, but it's probably like a $3,500 repair. But for the last month, or it's been a while, they're heating it with a propane heater, just to keep things and keep it alive. Some of the heaters, I forget what the trade name is. What do you call the overhead heaters, Mike? What do you call
The
them?
infrared.
Infrared?
Not the infrared, the one that blows.
Modines?
Modines, thank you, yeah. So, we got a few of those in the garage, right? Well, one doesn't work at all, the other one doesn't work right, so it's on, off, extremely inefficient. So, it's I can go on for days about the condition of the existing.
But the other point to be made is that the highway staff are, partially in Bay Ridge, partially on G'day Hill, and partially here. So you probably have staff going back and forth between these various sites during the same day just to do their job. Whereas if they were in a consolidated facility, they get their orders in the beginning of the day, all their parts there, their vehicles are there, it's a lot more efficient. So there's a lot of man-hours and fuel spent and wear on the vehicles just to do their jobs because they're locally in different sites.
And I'll just touch on that. Think of 40 people scattered around, like you said, fuel running around, man-hours. There's your money. Think of your man-hours just bouncing around on a day-to-day basis trying to get your job done. And then think about trying to manage that and keep track of that.
Do you see a reduction in hours? Can we look at a reduction in hours and plan for reduction in hours based on this inefficiency?
Well,
I think you're going to find an increase in productivity is what the answer's
Well,
going to be.
but we're, as taxpayers, we're concerned about hours.
we talked about
Overtime, actually, probably.
We
is more
talked about the one of our next agenda items is to talk about DPW structure, so I
Right.
can address that as part of
Okay.
that conversation.
Perfect, we
But
can
when,
hold that.
but when you talk overtime, when it comes to snow and ice operation, absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely.
That's one thing we want to take a deep look at is how can we target and how can we measure?
Understand. So this is an organization chart that I put together with Tom's help. And so it's got all the senior staff listed. I mean, Tom's listed here. Here's Ron, the harbor master here, recreation, DPW operations manager is basically the highway, head of highway, and water. But what I wanted to point out was each of those numbers represents, I'll call it an operating division. So you have the facilities division. You have the harbor master and division. You've got the recreation division. You've got, I can't read these. Highway, that's vehicle maintenance.
Yeah.
Vehicle maintenance. There's the tree warden here by himself. You've got the highway group here. Oh, sorry, this is parks. This is the tree warden. This is vehicle maintenance. That's water. And you've got the transfer station. So you have 8 operating units underneath DPW NR. And that's important to remember because we're going to compare this with other towns in the Cape. Chatham has 3 operating divisions in their DPW only. Each of the others have their own homes elsewhere in town.
How many employees?
Well, we'll get to that. I'll
Okay.
show you that. So this is the staffing that currently is within, these came out of our interviews. So you see, so full-time, part-time, seasonal, so the total. So it's approximately 50 staff, approximately 34 full-time staff. So that is the number of staff that we're dealing with at this point.
And,
Go ahead.
excuse me, I just want to throw one, this would be the staff, I believe, that would potentially utilize the facility. For example, we have a whole lot of beach people, et cetera, that won't, because they're at NOSIT
Right.
administration
Right.
and things like that. So this is related to the facility, because I think we have over 100 employees total in the summertime. Again, though, there's a management aspect to that. I got,
Yeah.
a couple dozen over here and a couple dozen, never mind the 50, I got a couple dozen over here and a couple dozen over here, and, NOSIT, Skagen, all over the place. So
Yeah.
there's just a management aspect to that.
Sure. Because we have 59 full-time employees, right, in the department?
And
In your department, DPW, including beach?
I guess, if that's what it says, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
the report's accurate. I have to take a look,
Okay.
but yeah.
Yeah, these numbers came out of our interviews last spring with the staff, so that's what we were told. Then fleet, you have the fleet list that Tom gave you earlier. This is my summary of the fleet. Basically, you have 17 large, I'm differentiating warm and cold. So the warm are basically the diesel vehicles. The cold are basically the gas-fired vehicles that don't need to be indoors, or they're vehicles that are like Tom's sedan, so that he can park it in the parking lot. But we have 17 vehicles, large vehicles, which should be indoors. We have 17 small vehicles, which should be indoors. We have 11 small vehicles that can be outdoors. And we have 8 pieces of towed equipment, and these are trailers or generators or compressors or things of that sort, which can also be outdoors. So a total of 53 pieces of equipment. We've got basically 34 pieces that should be indoors.
When you say indoors, is that the manufacturer's recommendation for indoors? I didn't see
That's
that.
our recommendation.
That's
I'm
your
sure
recommendation.
I'm sure the manufacturer would say the same thing, because the diesel fuel gels.
Yeah.
And we have a video that Tom can show you if you want to see that. It gels, your hydraulics suffer tremendously, and if we get into the cost-benefit analysis, we'll actually put some numbers to how much more maintenance, what's the reduced life of a vehicle based on the fact that you keep it indoors versus outdoors, and what is the increase in maintenance, what is
Sure.
the increase in staff time,
Sure.
what's the increase in fuel, simply because you keep it
Yeah,
outdoors.
so if you could just cite your resources for that, when you're doing that, where this information comes from. Who says that they should be inside? Who's done the studies?
Well,
Who's done the work?
American Public Works Association, first of all,
Yeah.
the National Association of Public,
Just as long as I can have that information,
Yeah.
that'd be great.
yeah, and
Yeah, we
it's essentially, I would say it's a consensus within the public works community. I'm not talking about consultants, I'm talking about operators,
Right.
that those large diesel vehicles should be kept above freezing during the wintertime, and out of the ice and the snow, for a number of reasons. One is what I talked about, the life of a vehicle, the amount of fuel, the amount of time it takes to get a vehicle up to warm so that it can be productive if it's been left outdoors.
That's great. I read that in your report. That's
Yeah.
interesting.
Thank you, Sean.
Just comparing the commercial, because I'm talking to commercial people, it's not a problem. So I wanna see
Well,
why
when
DPW has a problem with that.
I recently had a conversation with a hazardous materials contractor in Connecticut about a potential fleet facility for him. He wants to park all of his large vehicles indoors, because he gets an additional 3 years out of his vehicles if they're indoors. He saves a substantial amount of fuel costs, because they don't have to cough and sputter and stall in order to get going. And he doesn't have to have his guys climb up on the hood to scrape the ice off the vehicle in the morning if it's snowed or if it's iced.
And that's also a safety issue.
It also gives him the
less
ability,
likely to-
it
Yeah,
also,
one of the things, and I don't want to take up your time,
Yeah.
interrupt, But at town meeting, someone's gonna stand up and say, hey, I work for N-Star, we don't house our vehicles inside, we have diesel vehicles all day.
Yep.
And the guy's gonna say, I'm a lineman, or I know guys are linemen in Fall River. I've been working diesel vehicles my whole life, and none of them have ever been inside. So commercially, we wanna make sure we're not in a situation where, I've gotta know.
We have to have that, we have to be able to answer that question.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I understand that.
Everybody,
And
yeah.
it's an issue that comes up on every single job we get involved with. Because we
should.
have that comment, my brother's a plumber, he's got 6 vehicles,
No.
he keeps them outdoors.
Well, these are fleet managers.
I
People I
understand.
know are fleet managers. So I asked a couple people, and they said, no, our company would never pay for that. So we have to take a look at commercial versus, because people are going to come at us with that kind of
Right,
stuff.
but
So
we can
have to
also
take a look.
provide you with data that talks about the increased length of life that you're going to get out of a piece of a vehicle because you keep them indoors. And if you look at the analysis of the Framingham,
Yeah.
the Hopkinton analysis,
Yeah,
that talks about the millions of dollars that you save over the life of a garage if you keep the vehicles indoors, because
That-
because of the maintenance that goes into them.
I understand what you're saying. I don't mean to get into a big discussion about it, but I'm from Missouri. I got to see it. I got to be proven too.
It's
So,
fine, it's
so
fine.
show me your facts. Show me who cited it.
Yep.
Show me CAT. Show me anybody else that comes back and says, yes, our vehicles have to be kept inside, and there's going to be a 3-year life study, and I'll salute you all day long.
Okay.
One of the things I just will add to that, we are an emergency response operation. So and I wanted to actually say this while this slide is up. Right now, we keep the immense majority of our fleet is outdoors because we don't have any room. We might keep a few, 1 or 2, so like the loader might be indoors because we want that to start and go. When the snow's falling, you want us out
Yeah,
there.
you gotta go outside.
Right, so you might have the loader indoors and maybe one sander and a couple of pickups, you know what I mean? So, but
Yeah.
basically, everything's outdoors. I watched my guys struggle last year, hooking up plows. You know what I mean? You are wasting man hours like you can't imagine, and particularly when the snow's falling, you need us out there. I saw my guys fight with one plow for 20 minutes last year, and it's like, you got to be kidding me. And it's because they're outdoors. In the middle of a blizzard, the snow's flying, they're going from a sanding operation to a plowing operation, but the key is, it's public safety. Every minute counts. Anyway, go ahead, I don't want to
Okay.
hold it up.
Another point to make is that the towns that have, pretty much every one of our DPW facilities has a warm garage for their larger vehicles.
Yeah.
And one of the benefits of that, and most of them, not all of them, but most of them have it's center aisle angle parking. So every vehicle has a parking space. And what they do when there's a snowstorm coming, they put the sand and the salt in the vehicle, they park the vehicle, it's ready to go. So the staff come in, they get into their truck, and off they go. You can't put salt and sand into a vehicle if it's going to sit outdoors.
Right.
If it's going to get rained and snowed on, because that's going to then freeze, it's going to break the spreader. Because there's a chain device that pulls it through, it'll break it.
Sure.
So-
Any way you can cite those
Yep.
locations that have that kind of storage, that have paid
Yep.
for that,
Yep.
and gone through
We
a
can
town
give
meeting on
you,
that? I'd
we
love
can
to see that.
probably give you a half-dozen different articles from national publications
No, I'm
that talk
talking
about
about
this.
Massachusetts. Any place you can cite that say,
Yeah.
we have a warm storage facility we paid for.
Talk to
I'd like to
Lexington, talk to the
Yeah.
DPW.
Just-
I mean, I've worked in 4, you know what I mean, myself.
They have those.
Southbridge, Duxbury was most all indoors, even though it was older. That one wasn't heated, but they're heading that way. But Southbridge was heated. Franklin was heated. They got a new one. Marshfield was heated. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
just it is.
Let's get a
but that's
collection of
good.
those, because I think that would be important for us to have
All right.
our information.
Right now, we're doing Medford, Norwood, Wayland, Bourne. Those 4 are being constructed right now. Every one of them has indoor storage for their vehicles, and every one of the directors, like Tom, fought for it. And we had the same kind of discussions that we're having right now.
Yeah.
And the town eventually, the town concluded that was the right decision to make.
See, my thing is not an argument, it's just,
No, I understand.
we're the ones who are going to have to stand up there and talk about this. So I've been in too many town meetings where the person standing in front doesn't have the information they should,
Yep.
and you got a lot of smart people in the audience who are just going to take shots at you.
Yep.
So we got to have this information, A, for our decision-making, and B, so that we can make the best possible decision,
Okay.
and C, so we can relay that back to the people who are going to pay.
It's
for
very
this.
important to us that you have the right tools
Okay.
to make the case.
That'd be
We
great.
want you to be advocates for this.
Good.
So I'm on the same boat.
And you don't get up there until you're comfortable.
That's right.
So these, our recommendations are as follows. As I said, the existing facilities are beyond their useful life and in need of substantial repair. It's not worth the money. It's not a wise investment to put any money into them. They don't allow staff to work effectively. That's quite simple. They don't support effective management of the department. Tom has an extraordinarily difficult charge in front of him in order to manage department divisions that are spread all around town. None of the existing sites is large enough to house a consolidated department except for 40 Godiah Hill, which is not, we can't fit everything there, but most of it we can fit. There are significant conditions of non-compliance with current, you have building code violations, you have life safety violations, you have environmental violations, pretty much on every site. And in some cases, and I'll think particularly the highway maintenance garage is unsafe. There was one case because they have an emergency generator indoors. One winter storm not too long ago, one of the drivers came back and found the mechanic was woozy from carbon monoxide poisoning. So it's just simply unhealthy. We also looked at all of the available commercial sites in mid-2014, and every one of them, and the list is in the book. They're either too small, they're in inappropriate locations, the abutter problems, or the zoning problems. One of the benefits of Godiah Hill is that it's in the industrial zone, and I've checked with all of the various departments here in town, and planning has agreed that, there are no issues there. We can put this facility there and you don't have any issues. And there's no environmental issues either. So our recommendation is that 40 Godiah Hill Road be developed as the core facility. Another benefit is it's next door to the transfer station, so we can actually connect the two via roadways, so that becomes basically, pushing the wrong button, backdoor redundancy. So if there's a problem on Godiah Hill Road, the staff can access the highway system through the transfer station. There's also potential for sharing of the transfer station site for bulk storage, bulk material storage, potential for sharing of staff between the various divisions, and there's a lack of environmental abutter or zoning issues there. We also recommend that we take down the Bay Ridge Lane structures. They're, as we said, beyond their useful life. And our initial recommendation in the report was to construct then a cold storage building on that site, which would be used for off-season storage of vehicles and equipment. And as I said before, we, at this point, have no planned use of Overland Way, principally because of its proximity to private homes.
And where did that, whose concern is that? Who's the individuals that are concerned?
We actually, just the Board of Selectmen.
Board of Selectmen was concerned?
Yeah.
There was a comment by the Board of, and John, please jump in. I mean, there was a conversation with the Board of Selectmen with some of our presentations. There was no official vote taken by the Board of Selectmen,
Yeah.
but there was conversation by the Board of Selectmen not to use it. And it actually wasn't, it was private homes, but also it's right next to Tri-Town. And, there could be potential use for that site for a sewer program. So it's like, let's stay away from it. That was the feel, and if you want to jump in.
Yeah, there were two ideas on that. One is enclose the building that's there because it's structurally sound
Yeah.
and stuff like that, and use that for cold storage. That was one idea. The other idea, because of the proximity to private property and the amount of noise, potential noise, that maybe we'd abandon that, but we have not discussed taking that building down or doing anything with it at this time, other than, I think we're storing, gravel and stuff
So-
like that in it now to have some use. But that decision hasn't been made by the Board of Selectmen.
And Mike, thanks, that's really helpful. Mike, you saw that building, and that building has integrity, right? It's not
Yes,
I mean, it's
yes,
pretty
I
simple.
walked through it myself and measured it, and I'm convinced that one could spend some money on it.
Right.
A few bucks. I think I said, I forget what the number was, but not too much to enclose it. I was just going to enclose it basically in almost like chain link, but you could store a lot of stuff. It's a very substantial structure, and it could be very useful for but it's near homes, and it is a magnet for kids. You know, it's got a lot of graffiti on it right now. So I guess that was another concern, was is it going to be even more of a magnet if there are trucks there that are, and
Just buy a dog.
Lighting, cameras, fencing,
Versus-
razor wire.
Versus $4 million for another one, I don't know.
If I
I
could
mean,
make one more comment, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
Part of the issue was that there's a lot of underground stuff because it was originally going to be a compost building and stuff was going to come down from the treatment plant and be composted there.
Yeah.
That probably doesn't work very well right now, having been in there myself. The other issue was that perhaps it could be repaired and become a wash bay, and then the stuff could go right into the treatment plant, assuming that a treatment plant's going to be there.
Right.
Now, those are a lot of unanswered issues, but that was another conversation that came up. No decision was made on that either.
Good. That's great, thanks.
Okay, so this is a summary of our needs assessment. And what I want to point out is that there's an iterative process. So we came up with a 60,000 square foot scheme that largely came out of the interviews that we had with staff and us going back to our resources. We have a large series of large binder back at the office where we have records of what has been built in other towns. But obviously 60,000 square feet is a big building. So working with Tom, we went through two iterations of making compromises. And I'll give you an example of one. At one point in this first scheme, which I think it says 18th of March, we had a shared shop in addition to, so there would be a water department, it would be parks department, there would be whatever. And it would be one bigger shared shop where each of the divisions could work in there. During this next iteration, we said, no, we really don't need that. So we took stuff out, we squeezed stuff, and we got it down to 49,000 and change. And then we went through it again, we got down to 48,000 and change. And then we took that scheme and we went into developing concept plans. And the way the plan actually worked out, it ended up being about 45,000 square feet. So we've come from 60,000 square feet down to 45,000 square feet. The first three iterations were done with numbers. And then when we finally get into doing the planning, we find that there's some economies of scale that we can get there. So this is actually the form. This is also in your report. So we actually gave, every single room is here, and in some cases, we actually took rooms out entirely. In some cases, in most cases, we squeezed rooms. So that's how those economies were realized. And the feeling at this point is that this represents an efficient program for your 8 divisions. We don't believe that we've made any compromises that are going to impact negatively the operations. But I was just anxious that you understand the kind of due diligence that we went through to get to the point where we are now.
Mike, what's industry standard atop? It says industry standard and then as developed.
Yeah, industry standard meaning that comes out of our, when we hear from the superintendent of water department that he needs a workshop. We, based on what we have done for the last 10 years, we have a sense that's basically a 600 square foot shop, or basically going back to our records of what has been built and what other departments, other DPWs have been done. And we have Roger Thompson on our team, and he actually does this stuff in the Midwest as well, so that our industry standard, in other words, it's our assessment of what is being built out there these days.
Is that 45,000 number, I noticed in your presentation, in what we were given, there's a lot of modular schematics for different functions. Is that 45,000 number
No,
reflective of?
the schematics of individual rooms,
Right,
that's what generates the 60,000.
okay, so,
So,
okay,
so then we went back to
okay.
that, and we took some out, we squeezed them,
okay,
and so that's where we started. That was the starting point.
okay.
But it's not.
I'm trying to illustrate the process.
Sure.
So we have the interviews, we listen, and then we generate those sketches of individual rooms. It comes into a big number, typically, and everybody chokes. So then we go back and we squeeze, and, you know, we feel we have to go through that step, that process, because at that point, we're making intelligent decisions, that we're saying, yes, we can give this up, or yes, we can squeeze this space. So we, you know, really, we can share those two functions. So we're making those decisions intelligently.
So
Good time.
the schemas here, the section of this was just schemas is
That generated the 60,000 square feet. That was the first iteration.
Yeah, so we don't need that.
That was the first iteration.
And the spreadsheet, just want to make sure I can find that.
That's what this is over here.
It should be the last page, I think. Isn't that the last page of the report, the
Yeah, I've got a
spreadsheet?
broken part to look at it. Okay, good.
All right. So, as I mentioned, this is our recommendation for a master plan, and that's a core facility at Godiah Hill Road. This is Godiah Hill Road here. So I think Nauset Refuse is in here, I think. This is where the Highway Department currently has a collection of buildings that we talked about. This is the detention basin that exists right now, which drains the cap from the landfill. This is the landfill. That's the transfer station. This is the gift house. And this is the area behind the gift house that's paved right now where they do some of the composting. So our recommendation is, we went through a series of conceptual layouts, which I believe I put into the report. This is the one that made the most sense to us. So you have an administrative wing here, where all the management and supervisors are located, the administrative staff are located. It's also where citizens would go if they need to do business with DPW. It's where folks would go to buy their stickers. And then we have this wing being the vehicle maintenance shop on the opposite side, and this right here is where the trade shops are going to be. And then this building is the warm storage for vehicles. It's a center aisle with angle parking. You can see it in the plan. And then this little bump out is the vehicle wash bay. So you go in this side, wash, come out that back side, and turn around and go back into the storage area. So what we've created here is a reasonable parking area here that's exposed onto the street, so the building has a front to Godiah Hill. There is a separate yard on the back side which services the vehicle maintenance areas, so they can stage vehicles if they're going to go in for maintenance. There's a shop, there's a yard rather, excuse me, here that's going to serve the shops so that vehicles can be staged, can park, they can overhead doors so that they can get into a shop, the water folks can get into there and put stuff in the back of their truck. Or they can use that space to do some construction work, work on a part or something like that. And then we have a connector up to the transfer station, and at the higher level here, behind the gift house, is where we're proposing to put the salt shed, and we're proposing to put the bins for stone and loam and gravel and things of that sort. We're proposing to relocate the flare, which is here now, over here, and we would reconfigure the drainage system, and we would be building a replacement detention basin in this location here.
Would the retention basin stay in the same location? or-
No, we'd have to relocate it.
Okay.
Move it over a bit.
Yep. It changes shape from a rectangular to a triangular one.
And actually, it's not a bad thing. It does not function very well at this
Yeah.
point. It's pretty silted up.
Yeah, I would think you could move it to an outer edge of the site and make
Exactly.
better use of,
We slide it over, you just get it out of our way, but it actually needs maintenance at this point now. So,
And part of the proposed scheme, which is in the report, is, as I mentioned, we take down all the buildings at Bay Ridge Lane, and we put up a single pre-engineered metal building for cold storage. And in this scheme, it's also center entrance with angle parking on either side. That can be, we can make modifications to that, but this was the initial scheme. Yes, sir.
Mike, what was the cost for that part of the project?
$1.3 million.
For that building and for all the site work?
No, that's just the building itself. And I have site work for that at being roughly $250,000 plus $75,000 for demo of the buildings, plus, that water shop is separate. Yes, it's all in here.
Okay, good.
I should mention, I say pre-engineered metal building. When I make reference to pre-engineered metal building, I'm talking about what some people call modular, not really modular. Pre-engineered metal buildings are, they're actually, it's factory manufactured pieces. So there's a large bent, structural bent, which is long span, which is what we need. That building is 95 feet wide. And then you have ruled sections for roof panels and insulated wall panels. It's about 30% less expensive than traditional construction, and we're proposing the entire project be done that way.
The whole project, yeah.
Yeah. So these are all pre-engineered metal buildings, which
What's the size of this building compared to
I
Overland Way?
compared to what?
To Overland, what we've got now in Overland?
Overland is 40,000 square feet.
Yeah, 40,000, yeah.
I think this is 18,000 square feet. I'd have to look at the.
Sure.
Yes.
18?
18,000 square feet.
Okay, great.
If I may, the chair is having some conversation and questions about this. I mean, I'll bring this out, and it's something that in the future with the committee, I would present. First of all, the presentations that I've done and that Mike actually has done, I think we've been in front of the Board of Selectmen 3 times, I think, talking about the project. And we went through several iterations. So, for example, Overland Way, we had an initial proposal to, like Mike said, spend a little bit of money on it and take advantage of 40,000 square feet. But again, this whole process is iterative. You know what I mean? We are here to have a conversation. What's the best options, bounce out ideas, look at costs, and ultimately the town meeting makes a decision on what's the best thing to do for the town. But the Overland Way, just for stating facts, and only for that reason, when we looked at one of the first designs, and Mike costed it out, we had about, I'm going to do a round number, but I think it was $284 per square foot for the entire project. 3 phases that you can see over there, but we haven't talked about that yet. $284 a square foot. But when we used Overland Way into the mix, and you gained another 40,000 square feet at a low cost, it drove the entire project cost down to $174 a square foot. So you really, what do you take, about a third off your, almost, give or take, a quarter to a third off your cost of the total project by utilizing Overland Way. And we did present that, and we did talk about it.
Good.
Just so you know.
The objective here is to consolidate Overland Way is, now we have another facility someplace else.
From an operational standpoint, I would personally would rather have a cold storage facility. And we're going to talk about ultimately where we are today at cold storage. Right now, Mike is walking you through our path over the last year. This is where the report ended, but we're already working on something else that Mike's going to talk about shortly. So for me, the more we get it together, the more efficient and operational and everything else, the better. But bear in mind, the cold storage building is cold storage. That is, so it's not going to be, we're not going to be there every day. That's going to be, put the boats there in the winter, and put the sanders there in the summer. It's cold storage. We take the golf carts, whatever down the beach, and they go down there in the off season. You know what I mean? So really, it's limited use. But still, it's still better to have it
Outside.
as close as possible.
Right.
John?
Yeah, I assume that these buildings on the Gedaya Hill site can take advantage of that solar array that we have built on the cap.
I would presume we put solar arrays on these buildings.
So they would be constructed so they could
Yes,
support that.
absolutely.
Because we do have that solar array
Yes,
right there,
of course.
which isn't doing anything yet, so. Thank you.
Very good, thanks, John. Good point.
Metal roofs,
So I want to emphasize
I know.
I want to emphasize what Tom has just said, is that this is a point in time. So this is an iterative process, and I'm certainly not here to tell you that this is the way to do it.
Sure.
These are ideas.
Yep.
And so what we're looking for is to get feedback from you, but we haven't stopped thinking either, so we have more ideas going forward.
Yeah, and I think all of us appreciate just how much work you all put into this.
Yeah.
Sorry to come in the middle, but it's a lot of work.
But we're glad that you're here,
Well, thanks.
because you're going to sell the job for us. Okay, so this is the other idea that Tom just made allusion to. And this is right next to the entrance to the transfer station. The gate to the transfer station's right here. This site is available for sale. This is a potential location for a cold storage building, and this site would become just simply an extension to the transfer station. And as you sort of alluded to, this would be right across the way from the core of DPW. So if this was able to happen, first of all, as a user of the transfer station, having the gate up here would make this entrance a heck of a lot easier than it is right now. I'm always nervous with my pickup coming out of here and going to get hit by somebody coming out of there. But if this whole entrance right here could be changed around and made a lot more effective, and it means that the transfer station staff and DPW staff would have ready access to all kinds of additional land, which would make this end of the transfer station work a lot better. So I think this would be a huge asset to the transfer station function, and it would give DPW a place to put their off-season vehicles, and it could be something that they could access on a more regular basis, rather than, not daily, but they could get into their monthly. So, I mean, this is not a plan. This is, I just put a diagram in there. I think these are about 70 foot deep.
Right.
What's there now? There's two buildings there that are,
Sousa Refrigeration Property.
yeah, they're empty.
Sousa property?
What's the price of that property?
You want me
It's-
to-
What's that?
Well, the owner's asking $850,000 for it, but I think it's assessed at
6-something.
5.5, something like that, and
If I may, just where this conversation is, this is probably the first public conversation of this. Right now, the town actually is having it appraised, and the selectmen are entertaining the idea of this site.
Mhm.
So this is something the selectmen are working on in executive session to see if it's a good idea to ask the town if they're interested in purchasing it.
Is this to assume that Bay Ridge Lane would be
At that point,
Would-
Bay Ridge Lane
sold?
could be
sold.
whatever you want. It
Sold.
could be sold, it could be whatever you want.
As part of the existing Bay Ridge Lane, have we factored anything to explore any issues with that site? I'm thinking like a 21E type of
Well,
thing?
there was a major
Clean up the
mitigation of the
back.
site a number of years ago. I have a copy of a report where there was an oil leak, and they cleaned it up. So my understanding is that the site is clean at this point. But it's next to wetlands. And in fact, the harbor master uses the wetlands to store a lot of his off-season stuff.
Adjacent to the wetlands.
Well,
Immediate adjacent
yeah,
to the
yeah.
wetlands.
So, I mean, there's all kinds of environmental issues with DPW use of that site.
Yeah, because
It's
history,
problematic because
Yeah,
of where it's located.
history for the upper portions of that, I mean, that was a casual dump for a long time.
Yeah. So, that's my sort of ultimate thought, is if this were able to work, then you don't need to hold on to Bay Ridge, and that could pay for at least a portion of the
So-
purchase of this.
Getting back to the question, in your proposal for using the existing Bay Ridge site for cold storage,
Yes.
is that site going to be fully explored for any issues that way?
You mean, are we going to do a hazmat investigation?
Right.
We'd have to.
Right.
We'd have to.
Okay. So that's budgeted within what you proposed here?
Yep.
Okay.
But I'm not, frankly, I'm not presuming in my budgets that there are environmental issues that have to be mitigated, because I have a report that says that they did already take care of that. And the tank has been taken out of the ground, so there aren't any more underground storage tanks there. At least that's my understanding.
I mean, like, you know, we're doing a feasibility study, you know, best information he can readily put together and come up with these cost estimates, et cetera. So, you know, there are, at this level of planning, you know, we're making some assumptions. You know, it's not until you fund, you know, let's fund whatever, $500,000 to do a first part of design that you're going to get into, you know, exploring the site and all that other stuff, unless you do some, you know, earlier funding for some testing, et cetera.
And when we get into the design portion of this project, presuming we get that far, we would do a boring program just for geotechnical purposes, but it will, in the same process, it would turn up any environmental issues. And if a decision is made to use Bay Ridge Lane as part of this project, we would do boring program there as well. So that we would presumably uncover that stuff.
So that is in the mix. 50 Lots Hollow is something to, you know, kind of say, okay, that's in the mix as a possibility for cold storage. No Overland Way, no Bay Ridge, just put it all in one piece of property.
Right.
The whole.
Because we had very much the same comment that you made a few minutes ago, was made to us by the Board of Selectmen when we talked about the cold storage on Bay Ridge Lane. So this is how we responded to that.
And the other nice thing is, look at the neighborhood. The entire site's a great location. You don't have residences nearby, you have businesses, commercial, so it's a great location not to irritate your neighbors.
So this is a subsequent sketch to the plan I showed you earlier, and what I'm showing here is how we had recommended to Tom that this project be phased. Actually, in collaboration with Tom, we worked this out. But phase one is basically, that's the vehicle maintenance shop, and this is the trade shop building. So what we would do is we would build the vehicle shop in its entirety. We'd equip it, and we would equip it, and staff would move there, and the function would move there. The trade shop would be built as a shell, so that because it allows us to take a portion of that and use it as a temporary wash bay. So we could begin to wash vehicles down here. You don't wash vehicles legally at this point. You wash them out in the parking area.
Yeah, actually, that was another question I had. Why isn't the wash bay just going to be incorporated into the first phase of the vehicle service portion of this,
Well,
rather than?
that's what,
I think I understood this correctly, that what's being proposed here is a temporary wash bay, and
Right.
then it's going to be redone
well, it's
for another phase?
well, yeah, phase two would be the admin wing plus the permanent vehicle wash. What we're attempting to do is just utilize the shell, and since there are no other functions there, we only have to protect the structure minimally from use as a wash bay. And we would put a floor drain in it, a trench drain, in order to drain the fluid out. But the thought was to build that as a separate structure all by itself out there. I mean, obviously this is subject to discussion, but when we considered the phasing, we felt that it made sense to keep. The other issue is if we go out to this other portion of the site, we have to do more site development. We have to do more, you know, pavement and things of that sort. We were trying to keep this first phase limited to just that portion of the site. So
I could be wrong, but it would strike me as site development and pavement would be less money than doing a building redundantly.
Well, we do have issues, geotechnical issues on the site. We're going to have to put in piles here because of the nature of the soils there. This site was used as a sand pit when they built when they capped the landfill. I actually ran across a photograph on Google the other day of this site as a whole, and they just threw the soil back in, so it's unconsolidated. so it's not suitable for foundations.
But
So
but that was remediated, I mean, they dug most of that stuff out of there.
Yeah, but it's not, wasn't compacted.
Okay, so it wasn't returned.
Not compacted. So
Okay.
we can't, we have to basically, we'd have to take it out and put it back in lifts and then compact it, or we put in only
Piles.
25-foot long piles, but we have to do a special foundation, not a spread footing foundation. So that's the other issue. We're trying to avoid having to build that, more buildings than we can avoid.
So the whole site's going to require that foundation work?
Yes, unfortunately, yes.
And what's that add to the cost?
Well, it's specified here.
Yeah, it's the only drawback from that site.
Yeah.
Is the soils. Now, it's been cleaned up, you're right. And we did, what I was just going to say, while he's looking that up, we did soil borings as part of this study. He did soil borings, so they know what's out there. And they did soil borings underneath the salt shed area, too.
Okay, good.
Yeah, so we know
We
what's
know
out
it's clean, but it's not gonna take another building load.
Right, they know they know it just can't take the
Clean,
compaction
but it's
of
not
the
gonna take
building.
compaction.
Exactly.
Before we add contractor markup, it's $15 a square foot for the specialty foundations.
For the 45,000 square feet.
Yes.
So you're talking about 600,000, 700,000 bucks?
Yep.
Again, the only thing about the site is not
Right.
right on. I mean, there's a
Yeah.
couple other things. They're going to move a
I mean,
detention pond, but.
You already own it, so.
Right, but we already own it, right,
Yeah.
which is advantageous. The other thing, if I could, Mr. Chairman, just about the thought process of the wash bay, the temporary wash bay. Because Mike and I talked about that. It's like, we're going to reuse the equipment. We're not going to be, like, the orange. You want to put the pointer on the orange? Okay, so there's the shell of the future shops. Now, we'll use some of that immediately. We'll use that square footage for shops. It's just not finished the way it ultimately will be at a later phase. And we would put a temporary wash bay facility in there, the equipment, et cetera, and then the subsequent phase, build a new shell for the permanent facility, and then take the hardware, et cetera, out of the temporary one and move it in. So we're not totally redoing it. Is it less cost-effective? Yes. I mean, we'll talk numbers. Mike can show you the cost of doing the whole project at once versus breaking out into phases. Costs you more money. It's the way it is. But we're trying to live within what can the town afford, what, you know what I mean, based upon, the guidance of the selectmen a little bit, how can we get there over time? And that's why you guys are here, to help us with that. You might think, wow, let's do the wash bay now. Okay. I mean, I'm not going to argue. Why is the wash bay in phase one? Because right now, we are in non-compliance. We
Yeah.
have a problem.
Right.
You know what I mean? We have to fix that. So we're looking at the most drastic need and working our way out to it.
So going further, sorry.
I just have a question.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
Yes.
The retention pond.
Yes.
Does that get modified in phase two or phase three?
Phase two.
Phase two.
Phase
So
two.
that's a significant cost
Yep.
issue.
Yep. So again, phase one is the shell for the shops and the fitted-out vehicle maintenance garage. And phase two is the admin wing and the wash bay, along with the parking and the yard. It services the shops, and the shops would be fitted out at that point. So at this point, you have a fully operational maintenance facility, shop area, admin area, and vehicle wash.
In the salt shed.
And then we also move up here and we do the salt shed and the bulk material bins here behind the gift house. And we do this road, and as Ron just mentioned, we do the detention basin here. In phase three is the vehicle storage garage.
Where's the cold storage? Is that phase three?
I believe so. I believe so, yes.
Is that cold storage down here?
No, the cold storage is either Overland, Bay
Oh, okay.
Ridge, or 50 Lots Hollow, which is just off to the right of the screen.
Yes, it's phase three.
Okay, phase three. I'm going to throw a comment, just 30 seconds. I don't want to, keep going. It's a big project. There's a lot to talk about. That's why we're here. But a lot of questions say about heating vehicles and what should we do and what's the right thing to do. And one of the approach, Mike and we took through this process is every piece is self-supportive. We need a vehicle maintenance facility. There's no question. We need it desperately. Here you go. First part. we're gonna do a vehicle maintenance facility, and that's what we initially were talking about bringing to town meeting last year, because there's a need. Stop right there. I mean, that might not be the right thing to do, the town's probably gonna wanna do more at some point, because you're gonna have to, but, you know, each piece is fully self-supportive, it serves a purpose. None of it's a waste. So like, we can sit here and debate, should we heat the vehicles or not heat the vehicles for 6 months? But then again, are we gonna go for that at this next town meeting? I mean, I know the Board of Selectmen want a plan, and I get it. I agree, we should have a plan. I mean, I've done, you know, projects myself, and I have a plan from, you know, I might phase it, but I get a plan, so that phase 1 fits with phase 6. It all comes together, you know, and you know, we need to get that done. But again, you know, we don't have to, if we're not gonna do that right now, we don't have to kill that we don't wanna lose vehicle maintenance because we're gonna debate whether or not we house cars.
Yeah,
I
that's
mean,
good
trucks,
points.
that's all.
Yep.
But we'll give you all the data, trust me, we
Yeah.
want to give you it all.
Okay. Good.
Okay. So our anticipated construction costs, basically, we're budgeting Phase 1 right now at just under $5 million in 2015 dollars. We're budgeting Phase 2 at $7.6 million in 2016 dollars, so that's presuming it follows in another year. And Phase 3 in 2017 dollars at 7.1. So it ends up being 15, is that right?
It's
not
15
right.
all
It's
at
not- No,
once.
it's not right.
No,
Yeah,
it's
Oh,
15.
no, sorry. The bottom one here is, if we were to do phases 1, 2, and 3 all at once, our projections at this point, so this is 2015 dollars, it's a little less than $15.5 million. If you do it in pieces like this, 1, 2, and 3 following 1 year apiece, it's 15, it's almost $20 million. I haven't done the math here. It's 7.6 plus 7.1, that's 14.
And you're basing that on 2015 numbers?
15, 16, 17.
Yeah, but I'm escalating Phase 2 to 2016, and I'm escalating Phase 3 to 2017.
If it was in a phased approach, would it go to town meeting for every one of the phases for approval?
Typically, engineering would start, and then construction would fund, then engineering would start, and, you know what I mean? It'd
Yeah.
be engineering, construction every town meeting, you'd be rolling forward.
Yeah. Go ahead, John.
Each step of the way would require an approval at town meeting and the ballot, because there's money involved. So you have to win twice
Right.
for each one, and each phase would have to go through that.
Yeah, so if these 3 phases, if it is phased like that, it's $19.5 million. But if Phase 2 is put off for another year, it's going to be more. And Phase 3, if it's put off, you know, so in other words, the longer you wait, the more expensive it is because of the escalation of construction. But that 19.5 million as 3 phases compares to 15.5 million if you do it in 1 phase in today's dollars. So, I mean, I understand the logic behind phasing, and as a taxpayer, I appreciate that. But the fact is, you pay more if you do it in phases than if you did it at 1 phase. So I just wanted to explain how we went about the conceptual budgeting strategy. We keep up a database based on recent bid results, and we had 4 bids come in first 2 quarters of 2014. So we develop square foot values for the type of enclosure. So I'm talking about the admin area has a certain dollar per square foot value. The trade shop area has a certain dollar per square foot value. The vehicle storage has a certain dollar per square foot value. The most expensive is the vehicle maintenance because it's got a lot of equipment in it and a lot of high amount of plumbing in the floor and ventilation by code. And then for equipment, we actually price that separately from vendors. So we price the lifts, we price the fluid distribution systems, the wash equipment, all that stuff comes from recent vendor quotes. And then we have a dollar per square foot value of per acre for site developments, roughly $350,000 or $375,000 per acre, again, based on our experience of doing these types of facilities. And then so that's how we have a spreadsheet that we plug these areas into. And then we provide escalators such as escalation, if it's going to be next year or 2 years later, where the design is. If we're at a conceptual phase, we're adding 10% design contingency. We're adding probably a 6% construction contingency, depending upon what the site is. And I mentioned this, we also add additional costs for specialty foundations, for demolition, all those things we have numbers in. And it's in the number, the spreadsheet that I'm providing in the report. And then we provide an estimate of soft costs, such as, well, that's your construction escalator, but also some of your own costs, like legal costs for bidding and things, printing and things of that sort.
If I can just add to what Mike's talking, I mean, one of the reasons why Weston and Sampson, and we put an RFP out, we interviewed architects, et cetera, and one of the reasons why we picked Weston and Sampson was because of their experience. And so you saw all the list of projects. Well, these guys have all that data. They know what DPW projects are costing in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts up to date now. And they have all these costs, they have them on spreadsheets, so that's why the numbers, whether you like the numbers or not, Mike can show you bids. Here's what it cost over in Bourne. Here's what it cost over here. He can show you those numbers.
Yeah, no, I think that's really helpful.
So, one thing I wanted to point out here is that the costs of, these are projects going all the way back to the Dennis facility, which was done in Gannett Fleming. Jeff Alberti was working at Gannett Fleming. Relatively small facility, 28,000 square feet. The average bid price per square foot was $96 back in 2000. Bourne is an average price of $283 per square foot for a facility that's 40,000 square feet. And that was bid, I think, in February of this last year, so almost a year ago. So this shows you the escalation of the costs over the last 15 years. Point to be made is that many of these are pre-engineered metal buildings, as we talked about. Some of them are conventional construction, so it's not pre-engineered metal building. That's more expensive, such Lexington, for instance, is conventional construction. Weston is conventional construction. In some cases, we have a combination of pre-engineered and conventional, such as in Norwood, because they had one part of it which wanted to be an office building that was quite visible from downtown, so they wanted it to be not look as industrial. And in some cases, like Bourne, the town actually they're doing all the site work themselves because they have that large construction capacity in their landfill operation. So the landfill guys actually did all the site work, did all the excavation. So they saved a fair amount of money. But we plugged those dollars back in here so that we could compare apples to apples.
How many residents are there in Bourne? How many full-time residents?
I've got that in another sheet.
Were you involved with Weston? Did you say you used to work? No, not Weston. Was it Duxbury in there?
Duxbury's not in there.
Duxbury's not there.
Not in the garage. It's kind of funny. The Franklin.
Oh, Weston.
Yeah, that wasn't me. But I worked at Franklin years ago. I worked in an older facility. In fact, their older facility, I hate to say it, is like 10 times better than what we have here. And they've replaced it already back in '06. And I worked there in like '91, and they've already replaced it again. I don't know. I have to talk to the director over there and why he's being so successful, but he is. But no, I haven't worked in any of these newer facilities.
So this spreadsheet is on a file that I did give to Tom, so he can share this with you. So here's what you were looking for. Bourne is 20,000 people, 20,200 full year-round, 40,000 in the summer. Orleans is a little less than 6,000 full-time, and I believe the estimation of summer population is 20,000. And you can see how we compare it to Chatham. It's quite comparable. But what's significant between us, compare us to Chatham, because I know several people have made that comment, well, Chatham only cost X number of dollars. Chatham has only 3 divisions: water, highway, and the transfer station, which obviously is just some offices in this building to support staff who are at the transfer station. All the other functions, such as the harbor master, he's elsewhere, beaches department elsewhere, the sticker sales are done elsewhere, the facilities department is elsewhere. So that's what's unique about Orleans, is you've made, what I think is a smart decision, is consolidate all your departments under a single head so that you can get the maximum amount of managerial efficiency out of your group. Bourne also is just highway, engineering, and a small office for sewer. So they really have only 3 operating divisions. And you can see it also in the number of employees. You have 50 staff, Chatham has 16. You have 40 vehicles, Chatham has 23. So they're really not comparable facilities at all.
Is Bourne, I've never been to Bourne, but is their landfill operation part of that?
No.
Okay.
No, actually, what the DPW is currently at the landfill, but they're kicking them out because they want to build another cell of the landfill, because that generates a huge amount of money.
Oh, yeah.
Several $1 million a year go into Bourne's
Yep.
coffers through the landfill. So they were kicked out in order to allow the landfill to continue until it's finished. So they're on the other side of the canal now.
Again, is an observation, so you look at all the divisions in Orleans, and that's not abnormal. In my experience, I've run every one of those departments you see. I've never run Parks and Beaches before, or Harbor Master. But everyone else I've done, even more I've done actually, because I had big cemetery operations in the past on top of all this. So it's very common to have a very good-sized Department of Public Works. I will say, to the credit of Orleans, like if you look at your facilities, though, for all those little divisions, you have maximized your cost benefit of the existing facilities. I mean, you spent, relatively speaking, extremely short money over the last 50 years to house these facilities. But you're at the point now where you really can't milk them along any farther. I mean, like Mike said, they're beyond their useful life, they're unhealthy, they're unsafe. We can't add another plug at Highway because the main can't take it. You know what I mean? You can't milk it anymore. But you're at a good time. You've created a department, and now you've got the opportunity, you need to do something with your, like you said, well, let's only do 3 and not do another facility. Well, okay, so say you leave water. Well, go down to the water shop. It's a 1962, it's the same as the highway department. It's not, the useful life, it's over. It's time to do something, and, so it's a good opportunity. Yeah, everything costs money, I get it, I'm a taxpayer. But this is an opportunity at this point. You're building the department, do it right. And you're going to do it right for the next 50 years, at least, if not longer.
Mhm.
So, that's my...
How big would Chatham be if you included all their departments that are under you? Tom, how big would they
I
be?
don't know off the top of my head, I'll be honest with you.
Okay, that would probably be something we'd want to take a look at, just in case somebody throws it out,
Mhm.
Well,
Well-
we have a bloated thing here in Orleans. Well, no, because people are doing,
No, I mean, if you go, all I did is I went to Chatham's website, and you can see that the sewer department is in a different place.
yeah.
You can see sticker sales are elsewhere, the parks department is elsewhere, the harbor and you can, if you go to the department, you can see the address. I haven't actually,
My point is just in case somebody
Right.
says something at town meeting that, Chatham has 3 employees and you have 500. This is stupid, we're not going to do anything, because this is what
Yeah.
happens at town
Yeah.
meetings.
yeah,
So we need facts
it's a
about
good point, good point.
what are the different towns,
Yeah.
because I don't want people to get into the core of the operation and say, that's the problem. We're talking about a building here, and if somebody does throw it out, we can
Right.
say, by the way, we're very efficient in the way we're operating, X, Y, Z, which is something, we have to take a look at.
If I may, on that, a little more detail, and this is part of Mike's report, and you'll see it in there. Like, one of the pieces is, potential future employees. Well, what does that mean, right? So, right now, we have 1.5 mechanics down the highway garage. And because you were separate departments, everyone was just doing their own thing, those guys those 1.5 people take care of highway and transfer station. That's it. They don't take care of parks, they don't take care of water, beaches, they either fix it themselves, like, you know, Todd, your water superintendent, great guy, I've seen him out there fixing the backhoe himself. But so they're either fixing it themselves, or they're contracting it out. And I know meetings, conversations with the finance committee, they're really interested in doing some in-house, expand our in-house ability, because that saves money. This facility is sized to bring it all in. I would like, I'd like to bring it all in, you know. But in Mike's analysis, you'll see, when you look at the size of that fleet, okay, 1.5 people aren't enough. You need 2.5 people. You need another staff person. Now, I'm not going to get hung up on a facility project based upon staffing, et cetera, you know, kind of thing. But those are the discussions you can have about how can we more efficiently either, I mean, I've had operations where I've added staff. I had a situation in Duxbury. I went to Selectmen, Finance Committee, Fiscal Advisory Committee, who deal with capital expenditures, and town meeting. And I went to them and I said, look, we need another employee at the transfer station. Everyone knows it. You're not staffed. And the people, the residents would complain. You know, they wouldn't get the service they expected. We need another employee. I'll give you another employee. You buy me a brand new $110,000 Mack tractor. And when we did the cost-benefit analysis, everything, benefits, fuel, everything, we will, instead of trucking, having a contractor truck our trash, we're going to truck it in-house. That employee would truck trash 25% of the time. The rest of the time, he was working at the transfer station, helping people out and doing the thing. So we gained service, and we saved the town a net of $7,000. And they did it, and it worked. So there are times you can do things better in-house, and I've also done projects, for example, streetlights in Newton. City bought the streetlights. We contracted out the maintenance of the streetlights. So when we bought them, we were spending, you know, $800,000 a year on streetlights or something like that. When we bought them and took care of the maintenance ourselves, we cut our prices down to,
Don't mean to interrupt,
I'm sorry.
but you got 20 minutes left
To wrap
here
up.
to do the rest of your agenda.
Yeah, no, you're right. All right. So to wrap that, the point on that is streetlights, we contracted it out. Then we brought it in-house, cut the prices in half again. The economy changed, or the business model changes after 5 years. It was in-house, we put it back out of house. So these are, you know, it's kind of part of the next conversation of DPW structure. It's a work in progress. It depends what the market's doing and where you can more efficiently get things done.
Okay, good,
Sorry.
we'll talk about that more. That's a very good point. Thanks, John, for that.
I think this is almost my last slide. I just wanted to, you have the handout for the cost-benefit analysis. This is just simply a summary of the Framingham water and sewer inventory facility benefit analysis, which was done. And I just wanted to point out that if you go through it, you'll see that there are several, there is a piece of it that develops an analysis of how much fuel is being wasted by forcing staff to go back and forth between various locations and site in town in order to get parts, and how much labor is wasted in that process. And then they compare that against the cost of building and operating for 50 years a parts and material storage building. And if we take, we basically take the cost of the building and operating it, and we subtract that from the two waste costs, we end up with a savings of $4.7 million over 50 years.
This is projected, this isn't actual.
This is projected. This was done now.
Has anybody done an actual study where they've actually, has anyone in the state of Massachusetts done something that you've seen, where they're able to track that, and someone
I
said?
can't tell you. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. It
Good.
may very well be that this has been done. This, as I said, the rationale or the template for this came from our guy who's based in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
So it could be, I'll ask him. He may know of a place where they've actually gone back and tracked it to see whether it actually turned out that way.
Good.
So, I mean, that's the rationale that we would go through. And this one was for the vehicle equipment storage building, same kind of rationale.
Excellent.
So that's it.
Very good, thanks, Mike, that was fantastic, a lot of great
Uh,
work. Any questions on any part of the committee? Any last questions? And if we need to have you come back, Mike, and ask you some questions, is that something that's within the scope, or are you?
Yes.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Yes. Actually, the next thing for us to talk about is I have drawings which I gave drafts to Tom today to talk about more in detail about the phasing, how we would take that plan and break it up. And we're under contract to also update these costs.
Okay.
Costs, we have more information today than we did back in the summer.
Sure.
So, yeah, the intention is for me to come back on a number of occasions between now and the end of February.
Okay. And when would we be able to get that information? The things you're talking, when would it be final enough for us to take a look at it?
I could,
Well, we've got drafts, which I gave to Tom tonight,
I'll send them to you
and
tomorrow.
we would love to have feedback.
Okay.
This is dialogue. I'm not dictating policy here. I'm basically putting things out there for discussion,
Okay, good.
as this report is for discussion.
Was there any discussion about the fate of the water?
Next agenda based on that question. So you've got revised prices and.
No, I don't have
phased-
pricing. We're about to start the
Okay,
pricing.
But you've
About to
got,
start the
on that flash you gave me, you've got revised layouts and
Yes.
things. So
And there's building plans and site plans.
we're not going to get to building plans today, for sure, just because of the time frame. Should we put building plans
Yeah,
on
okay.
the next week's agenda based on your availability to have that conversation?
Yeah, that'd be great. I'm okay with that. You guys okay with that?
Yep.
An agenda item, next time to have Mike come back and talk about building plans?
I'm sorry?
For the next meeting, to have Mike come back and talk about building plans. Some of the things that he's sharing with Tom now. Tom's going to send to us tomorrow.
Yeah, okay. I can't believe that we won't have questions there, and
Absolutely.
I do have some questions, but obviously we're running out of time here.
Okay.
And we also have things left on the agenda here.
That's right.
If I can, just to keep things moving along, if you have questions, and, I mean, you guys have questions, does that mean email? We could have answers for you for the next meeting. Potentially, get them out to Mike and keep things moving. So, and at the next meeting, read the questions, and we can have responses the best we can at the next time around.
Perfect.
So just use me as a way to distribute.
They should send their ideas to the chair,
Okay.
and the chair sends them to you.
Absolutely.
No decisions on them, and ask for no answers in your emails.
Yep. Very good. Do you want to table Tom's for the next meeting? Or do you think, I imagine it's going to take some time.
I think there'll be a lot of conversation. My conversation will be 5-10 minutes, but yeah, I don't, it's fine
Well,
with
that'd be great, because, approving the minutes, probably the things we should do is make sure we get the minutes approved, make sure we've got a design, any items for the next meeting, schedule a meeting, and then we can, Tom, you can start, if you don't mind, if we've got time left over, we can,
Sure.
we've got 9 minutes, we can start the process. Draft minutes? Anybody have any questions on those?
I
or-
think this is pretty straightforward. I move that we accept the minutes as drafted.
Okay, great. So moved. Second?
Second.
Great.
Who did
Vote?
this second? I'm sorry.
Aye.
I did. Yeah.
Aye?
Yeah, vote in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Abstained? Opposed? 4-0-0. Is that okay? Good. Next thing for next meeting, any items that we want to have in there? We want to have Mike come back. So one item will be to have, now, for the agenda, is Hank going to write that up next time? Is that what happens, or?
We can talk.
Okay.
Between Hank and I, we'll make sure I'll work with Hank to make sure this all I's get dotted on this stuff.
Okay. So one thing is the peer review status, find out what's going on with peer review status and where that is, and what the goal of that is. Committee goals, challenges, and timelines, we won't be able to talk about that today, but
Put all this on the next agenda.
next agenda. Discussion with Tom on the next agenda. How about anything else?
We had Mike, Weston Sampson to review building plans or
Yes.
something. How about that?
Yeah, building plans, yeah. Good.
Hank, I'd be happy to take care of this agenda for you, all right? Because I got it all right here.
Okay.
And I got the document. It'll just take me 2 minutes tomorrow.
Good. Now, for next week, for a meeting, what's everybody's schedule like for the next meeting?
I gotta look at the calendar, the town hall calendar.
Yes, if you you could tell us what's
Looking at it right
available.
here. Yeah, Mike and I were talking before, okay, it's town hall, before this meeting, not knowing what the committee's pleasure is, but we only were looking at next week. Wednesday, there's no way Wednesday works with the town hall schedule.
Okay?
Tuesday and Thursday seem to work, based on what you guys want to do, or Friday.
Sure.
I don't know what Mike's schedule is Friday.
Yeah. And for you, John, you've got 5 o'clock's better and after?
There would be a conflict with the Renewable Energy Committee, but that doesn't lead to concern.
Okay.
What day is that, Mike?
That's
John?
Thursday.
Thursday's renewable energy?
How's the 27th for everybody?
I won't
Open
be
for
here.
me.
You won't be here?
I'll be in Florida.
Okay.
I'll be back Wednesday.
Wednesday. So Thursday's better for you, Hank?
No, Thursday I have an appointment in Boston.
Okay. And Wednesday, we're booked up,
So Friday really is the only day I can do it next week.
okay?
Unless
wanna have a meeting?
What time on Thursday?
What time on? Well, the hall, looking at the Nauset room, let me look here. Nauset CPC at 4, so that doesn't work out well. Wait a minute, yeah, Thursday doesn't look good at all. Actually, well, Skakeit's open. We could be down in the Skakeit room next Thursday at whatever time.
Typically, the renewable energy is fine.
Yeah, that'll be renewable energy down there.
How many people you got?
How many people did you get? Me?
I was saying, could that be something we could, Tonsit room for you guys, and then we could be televised?
Ours isn't televised.
That's what I mean, could you use Tonsit room,
They could,
and
yeah,
we use the Skakeit
as
room?
long as somebody notifies.
I'll take care, you mean like posting it and stuff? Who posts that for you, John?
Huntingford,
Jim
John,
Jim
yeah.
Hungerford.
Huntingford. And he has posted it,
It's already posted?
but this time he changed the room.
Okay.
So you guys are okay with Thursday?
I'm wide open.
So, what time? I didn't hear.
Well, tell me what time you can work it, because we're working toward your schedule.
It would have to be, it should be 9:45 in Boston. I should be back 3:30, something like that, after that.
If we do 4:30, it would help me out.
Yeah.
4:30?
4:30?
So that looks
That's fine
like-
for me.
That looks like January 29 at 4:30 in Skakeit room. That's what we're talking about. Work for me?
And that works for you, Mike?
Yes.
Great, thank you.
Okay, so 29, yeah, wide open. That works for me.
Good.
All right, so we'll get that posted.
Nothing else on the agenda? Anybody else want anything else on the agenda?
We want to talk, the only thing on the agenda left that we didn't mention was facility tours and potential site locations. Do we want to call it tonight? You want to talk about that for a minute?
So you talk about that?
You're pretty much tabling everything for next meeting then, is it? Beyond
Yes,
Mike's presentation?
right. We have a hard stop at, we got to get out of here at
Make
6:15.
sure you start right at 4:30.
Yeah,
Why, what's
Whether
next
they're
week?
all here or not, as long as you've got 3.
got to get started. Okay.
Do we have that night, though, there's no one after us, right, in Skakeit probably, right?
What's that?
Next week, there's no one after us in Skakeit probably, right?
No.
Okay, so we could, we could go 6 hours, guys, if you want.
Absolutely.
What do you-
Come to a decision, we'll be done.
You didn't think we could get done that quick?
Wrap this up.
Yeah. If I could, one suggestion for the agenda?
Sure.
Totally at the committee's, whim. There's some things in the presentation that I've done with the Board of Selectmen about need and things like that. I'd be more than happy to share with the committee if you'd want me to, and I promise I'd
Absolutely.
keep it, without questions, keep it to like 15, 20 minutes max.
Right. So you got two presentations.
So,
And on the sewer property issue, I wouldn't discuss that till you get go-ahead from the board of selectmen.
oh, yeah.
Very good. Motion to adjourn,
I move we adjourn.
second?
I second.
Great. Can we take a vote?
Aye.
We do? Oh, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 4 ayes, opposed, abstained, 4-0-0.